Hi, I'm John Malos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Friday morning. Today we're going to go through all the propositions, all 17 of them. Do you understand them? Are you going to vote for them? Or are you just going to go across the board and go either yes or no on all of them, like I usually do? 436-ME-TV, option 11. Today is our election day right here on Connect with Me. Back here on the program on a Friday morning, Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno. So glad you are here. I want to mention each and every day that, you can catch the replay of this broadcast in the afternoon and at prime time at night. We'll put that up now and show you exactly what time and where, what channel, because I get this question all the time. 2 o'clock in the afternoon is the replay, 13.6, that's YouTube, and 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. But let me explain, that's with a digital antenna. If you have an outdoor antenna, you can get over-the-air broadcast on these stations. They come in loud and clear, my friends, no question about it. But Monday through Friday, live from 10 to 11, we're on 13.1, 43.6 with an antenna, and then, of course, Comcast Channel 375. Quick programming note for Monday. On Monday's program, it'll be On the Air, Off the Presses with Kathy Isom. Kathy Isom of radio fame over at KMPH and, of course, KMJ, and her father, the late Roy Isom, who spent so many years as a reporter over at KMJ Radio, well-respected journalist. And I'll tell you what, Kathy, I work with her at KMPH. She's a wonderful person, and she'll be here on Monday to talk about the state of radio. She'll talk about everything under the sun. So that's coming up on Monday. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. I thought, since there are 17 propositions on the ballot come November the 8th, every 4 years that comes around, I get confused. I know you get confused. So many voters that go into the voting booth get confused about what these propositions actually mean. Now, I'm getting all kinds of election propaganda in the mail. Look at how many pieces of mail I've got. I got one on Prop 61, by the way. We'll be talking about that. Cheating schools out of $600 million a year. We'll talk about that one. Here's another one. Here's a letter from Central Unified talking about the bond. Learn more about Proposition 61, Measure C. The list goes on and on. I even have my sample ballot and my general election pamphlet, the official voter guide information that I got in the mail. How do you like that? So let's go and put up Prop 51 just for a moment. I won't say a word about it. I'll let you folks at home read it. Do you understand it? Do you want to understand it? Or do you not even care? How about Prop 52? Do you care about that one? Oh my, okay. So come back to me just for a moment. So to understand any of those propositions, you've got to go through this information guide. Now let me just go to Prop 56. Look at Prop 56. It probably goes on for 2, 3, 4 pages. Do you have time to read and scan through all of this? Well, if you want to understand the propositions, you better do it. Live in our studio right now is Tal Cloud. He is he's one of the co-founders of the Lincoln Club. That is a political action group right here in the city of Fresno. Yes, they do have a political agenda, but you know what? He's not here to talk about that. He'll explain in detail. He's an expert, my friends. He'll talk about what these propositions mean, and maybe he'll even give you a suggestion on how to vote on these. Is it going to cost you money? Will it be money out of your pocket? 436-ME-TV, option 11. If you have any questions about the propositions, we'll go through each and every one of them. We have 51 through 67. I believe, my friends, that adds up to 17 propositions on the ballot, including the one that I totally understand, the medical marijuana one. We'll talk about that and much more back in a moment.
And away we go.
Here's the place that makes you smile. Stick around and stay a while. We're the home of great TV that's memorable. That's me.
Follow me, sir.
Call them classics, call them the best. Call silent favorites, be our guest. Every day there's more to come. Watch and see, there's only one. Me TV.
All you have to do is watch me.
Are you kidding me?
Follow me.
That's memorable, that's me.
That's me.
Me TV.
Tune in to Heartland for the best in true country music. Relive vintage specials, one-of-a-kind concerts, and country music's earliest videos. Heartland is the heart of country, the only place where you can find country music, country stars, and country lifestyles 24/7. Heartland, the heart of country.
Now on channel 13.2.
This is your chance to understand the propositions before November the 8th. That's why we're trying to do this program well in advance so you can, get ahead of the curve a little bit as to what these propositions mean to you and to me, and will it cost you money? Will it take money out of your pocket? Because it just seems to me that every time somebody puts a proposition on the ballot, it means they're going to take money out of my pocket. That's the hidden message in some of these propositions. And you know what? I don't like that. So I want to understand what I'm voting for. So I'm giving you a chance to call in and ask any questions as we go through these all 17 propositions today. Tao Cloud is here. Good to see you, my friend. How
Great
are
to be
you?
here. Great to be here. Great
All
to
right.
talk about some of these exciting propositions.
Man, am I right about that? Are they trying to take money out of my pocket every time one of these goes out?
Absolutely. And this is just another pawn off of the Assembly should be doing their job and not putting so many propositions in front of us. But a lot of this gets pawned off to the citizens. Some of them have to, but others, the Assembly is just not doing their job in the Senate. So, I mean, we look at 51. It's another big bond increase. We have $75 billion of bonds already on state in the payroll. I think it's about $3 billion a year right off the top to pay for all these bonds that we paid for years ago and long since been spent. And Lincoln Club is who I represent, and if you want to see any of the our positions on the bonds after we go through this, we've got our proposition, our bond proposition. Just go through the Lincoln Club, Fresno County Lincoln Club, and we'll explain why we oppose or support something. And a lot of people are surprised that we are supporting some Democrats for public office as well as some Democratic-leaning bonds. But in 51, we're opposed, and I think actually I was surprised the Fresno Bee's opposed to 51 as well.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. How does a bond measure get on the ballot in the first place?
There's a couple ways. One is you can, on a bond measure, usually it's put forward by the Assembly and the Senate.
That's on a bond.
On a bond.
Okay.
On a proposition, the way those get on the ballot is either they get put on the ballot by, again, the Assembly or the Senate will place it on the ballot, or special interest groups will go out and spend millions of dollars, collect signatures, the ones you see there at the grocery store, so to speak. You sign your name. If enough people sign, they can then get their bond or their ballot measure on the ballot.
What does it cost to get that? Let's say I go out in front of Save Mart supermarkets or
It's about $3
Food
million.
Max to get it on the ballot?
It's about $3 million to organize, to pay someone to go collect the names. Every time those people in the supermarkets, you get a signature, they'll get somewhere between $1 and $10 a signature, and it's a valid signature. So those signatures then are used to get enough signatures to place a bond on the ballot.
All right, but just so we understand this totally and accurately, you have to, getting a signature is one thing, but the signature has to be of a person who is a registered voter?
Correct, and they have to be a registered voter in the city in which they say they're registered. If you live in San Diego, as an example, but you say you live in Fresno and you're registered in San Diego, they're not going to go down to San Diego and check. They're going to look for you here in Fresno County. So it has to be registered voter, and that's how they validate signatures. And you need, a million signatures or some number of signatures. It's, plus or minus a million is how many signatures you'll need to qualify a ballot initiative.
So if you're really, passionate about a certain topic that you want voters to vote on, it's going to happen. There are a lot of political action groups out there that are willing to, stake a lot of money and put a lot of money on the line and go out and get money, get people to donate money to put this thing on the ballot,
Absolutely.
right?
That's how it works.
Yeah.
And that's why when you look at, your ballot, your general election ballot information, it'll say who's for and against. And many of these people are the ones that put all the money, to support these or to oppose these ballot initiatives.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So let's start with Proposition 51 and go slowly and explain. I already know your position, but one of the reasons you're here is to explain what this one means. And I'll just read it just briefly here. I'll just read a little bit of it. Proposition 51, of course, authorizes $9 billion in general obligation bonds for new construction and modernization of K through 12 public school facilities, charter schools, vocational education facilities, California community colleges. The fiscal impact state cost about $17.6 billion to pay off both the principal, the $9 billion, and the interest, which will be $8.6 billion on the bonds. Payments of about $500 million per year for 35 years. What is Proposition 51 trying to accomplish?
What they're trying to do is the state's going to use this as leverage to, if they pass this, to support local school districts in building schools. So it would be a matching dollar formulation is generally how it works, or some percentage of matching dollars for specific projects. The
So
problem,
this is state money?
this is state money that's going to be used to amplify local money. The reality is, I think the locals should be paying for this. The state, we're paying too much debt. There's already too much money coming off the top right now. We can't afford. This is just another bond measure that's too much money that we can't afford.
How much will it cost each? Have you figured out what the cost will be for each individual?
Well, I mean, again, you look at how many people are in California. There's 30 million people in California, and it's going to be, it's going to be $17 billion. Do that math. It's a fair amount per person, but again, we're not going to feel it because it's not directly on our taxes. It's going to be on our state taxes, but we're not going to see it like you would on a local school bond measure, like the Measure X or Measure A or Measure C that are locally trying
So
to
it's
be
kind of,
passed.
is it kind of a hidden tax?
Well, it's a hidden tax in the sense that you're paying it when you pay your state sales tax, part of that money is being used to finance this. But
Wow.
that's also taking away from other monies that should be spent on services like police and fire. And because the state's not going to have those resources because they're spending so much money on these bonds. I mean, they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on bonds over the years, and you see an 85% interest rate cost on a bond is too much.
So what do they want on Prop 51? What do they want to accomplish? What do they want to do with that money? And
The state wants to play king and have money to give out to their favorite school districts is really what they want. It's an opportunity for your local politicians to say, hey, I was able to get $5 million for Central Unified or whatever it may be. And at some point it's just too much of that. That's why Lincoln Club's opposed.
okay. So and is there any guarantee that any of that money that they raise will even go to whatever Prop 51 says it will?
It will go to schools, but there's no guarantees that it'll come to Fresno County. It's and it's at the end of the day, $9 billion is not a lot of money when you figure how much money the state wants to spend.
Yeah, so there's no guarantee it'll come here. It could go to San Diego. It could go to San Francisco.
You can go a lot of other places than Fresno.
Sacramento, and we're voting for something we may not even see the improvements here.
Correct.
All
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
All right, because I've heard commercials on the AirTowel regarding Prop 51. I don't know if it's radio ads or TV ads where somebody is talking about the state community college system, and I think we have a phone call here. Is that what it pertains to?
Well,
Pretty much?
51 could be, again, it's charter schools.
Hang on, caller.
Charter schools, state community colleges, and K-12s. And there's just massive needs there.
I think that's the one they were referring to. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air with Tal Cloud. What's your question about the propositions?
Yeah, I received my absentee ballot, and I was going through it, and there are a lot of measures here, a lot of bond measures, a lot of stuff I didn't even know I was going to be voting for. At the risk of sounding like I don't know what I'm talking about, but what is a bond? I mean, what actually does a bond do, and how are those bad for California? If you could explain that to me.
Okay, so what a bond does is there's a couple different ways to look at it. You have your state bonds and you have your local school bonds and your local bonds. So a state bond is general obligation for the state of California they promise to repay this at some point over its lifespan, 30 years as an example in this particular one. A local school bond for your school districts is their guarantee to repay it, but the funding comes from your property taxes. So when you get your property taxes, if you're a homeowner, it'll say, Measure A school bond 1997 and $50. And you do enough houses, that's how it gets paid for. So local bonds are paid for through property taxes. State bonds are paid through general obligation.
Yeah.
And that's what hurts California's credit when you have hundreds of billions of dollars in bonds out there, and at some point the credit agencies look at California and say, hey, you have too much bonding debt. We don't need to give you anymore. And so the interest rate goes up. And that's why this bond is so expensive. It's the interest rate's way too high for a state bond like this.
And a bond could extend out for any number of years.
30, 35 years, it really depends. And some of the local school districts, like Clovis, has done a good job on their bonds where they pay them off early. When their AV, assessed valuations, increase, they get more taxes, more revenue. take that revenue and they pay the bonds off early, and they've done a good job with that.
Yeah, is it similar to our stadium here, downtown stadium, with the bonds, 30-year?
Yes, but they don't. The stadium bonds are kind of like a state bond where they're guaranteed out of the revenue out of the city. There's no specific, so it's general fund obligation, meaning that it's the general fund that the politicians actually have freedom to do something with. So that's why general fund obligation bonds are difficult, because it takes the cream off the top.
All right, I think I'm going to take a break here because we have a lot to get to.
Yeah, we
About
do.
16 more bonds to talk about and some other measures here, or not initiatives, not bonds, but 16 more propositions, and then a few of the bonds. We'll talk about that. 436 MeTV option 11 if you have any questions about the 17 propositions, and there are some bonds in there too, some local measures as well. Back in just a moment.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Touch the new Whirlpool Ice Collection. It offers a modern style made to create an inspiring kitchen experience. Save big on this Whirlpool Black Ice or White Ice kitchen. Come into Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Explore strange new worlds on MeTV. Seek out new life.
I've seen old photographs of this period. Let's get out of here.
And new civilizations. Boldly go to Mayberry and the Andy Griffith Show.
Weeknights at 8 on MeTV Fresno.
Welcome back to the program. Your chance to weigh in and call in on these initiatives here. Propositions 51 through 67. They're on the November ballot. You got your sample ballot in the mail and your information guide. It's a thick one. So, you know, you have your chance to do your homework on this. But today we're doing a program and trying to inform you, the voter, the public, prior to November the 8th. So Tal Cloud is here. And 436 MeTV option 11. We have an open phone line if you want to call in. Let's go to Proposition 52. This has to do with Medi-Cal hospital fee program. Extends indefinitely an existing statute that imposes fees on hospitals to fund Medi-Cal healthcare services, care for the uninsured patients, and children's health coverage. The fiscal impact is uncertain at this time, according to the bond here that I'm reading. So what is this one trying to accomplish?
Well, I think originally Lincoln Club looked at this and said, heck, we're no. But then we researched a little deeper, and what it's doing is just closing a loophole. What we found is closing a loophole that politicians can come in and take this money. It's basically setting some certain funding streams of the revenue that's voluntarily...
What money are we talking about?
Money that our hospitals are being paid, or that are paying into the system to get matching funds out of Washington, D.C.
So the politicians have the opportunity to just go in and grab it?
They could if we don't close the loophole, and that's kind of where this bond came from.
Wow.
We found some local ambulance companies that said this will give them some certainty in their business in terms of their funding stream for Medi-Cal. So originally we were opposed to it, but Lincoln Club looked at it a little deeper, and we decided that this is something to vote yes on. We were surprised ourselves.
So it's kind of like a money grab if they want to.
If we vote no, it's a money. It gives more flexibility for politicians to take money within the system and maybe put it their pet projects. Whereas right now, this is being what we felt allocated fairly.
It's for healthcare right now.
Yeah, healthcare.
So this is closing a loophole on a money grab. The money is earmarked for healthcare, Medi-Cal, hospital fee program, money that they get in return from the government.
Right.
It's the reimbursement.
So if they put $100 in, the government will match the $100, and this keeps that going and gives a little bit more certainty within some of the hospitals. That's why you see a lot of the hospitals are in favor of it, because the hospitals at this point are paying so much out of pocket for uninsured people because of what's going on.
So again, you think people ought to vote yes on this?
Lincoln Club advises a yes.
Okay. All right. Let's go with Proposition 53. And this one has to do with revenue bonds. Statewide voter approval requires statewide voter approval before any revenue bonds can be issued or sold by the state for certain projects if the bond amount exceeds $2 billion.
This is one that's put forward by Carnapasi, I think is his name, up in the Delta. And reason this is here is he's trying to stop the Twin Tunnel projects. And so he wants to say any revenue bonds which very much like a local school district bonds, where the revenue off your schools. At the state level, this could be used, say, for paying for dams. When, let's just say, Westlands Water District says, hey, we're going to go pay for a dam, but we need to do a bond. The state needs to back it because we can't do it ourselves. So what this would require is it goes to an election. It muddies the water, and it's bad policy for revenue bonds, where people that are the users are going to be the ones paying for it. So water districts will say, hey, we're willing to pay for this project, but we need the state to back the bond. And if a local district's willing to pay for the bond, that means their local board of directors already approved it.
What do you mean they want the state to back them on it?
If you have somebody like a Westlands Water District, a Fresno Irrigation District, they say, hey, we need to do a big project.
Okay.
And we want to write a check for $1 billion. They can't come up with that money. But they do have people that can pay that money back over 30 or 50 years, which would be the revenue, like a property tax.
So are they borrowing from the state?
No, the state's backing the bond, and the users are paying for it.
Gotcha.
This was put forward so that if we're going to build the twin tunnels or major water infrastructure programs, that the state would then have to vote on those revenue bonds. And we felt we don't want the state. It's already clouded enough, so this is a big no.
Okay, so the twin tunnels, just to clarify, are those two tunnels, water tunnels coming from the north and bringing water from the northern project all the way down south?
Right, and this is Delta people that don't want that going through the Delta. This is their way of killing that project.
It's the underground tunnels.
Correct,
that they're talking
and
about
it's their way of killing that project.
What's the cost of that, by the way? Just
it's in the billions and billions, but it's going to be paid for by the users and the South of Delta people. So I mean, it's not. It's going to be paid for through revenue off their property taxes, and in which the bonds would be very low interest rates, very different than, say, the other bonds that the 51 were opposed to as well. A revenue bond is specific to revenue generating.
Yeah, and I had heard through one of the mayoral debates that those two tunnels could cost anywhere between $10 and $20 billion.
They could, and I don't think they're going to be built in our lifetime, anyways. But this is just more government involvement we don't need.
All right, Proposition 54, the state legislature, the legislation proceedings here, prohibits legislature from passing any bill unless published on the internet for 72 hours before they vote on it. It requires the state legislature to record its proceedings and post on the internet, as I said, authorizes the use of recordings. The recordings of this one-time cost is $1 to $2 million, and ongoing cost as well.
This is kind of interesting. This is actually a situation where the legislature, at the end of session, they'll put bills forward that they've not discussed. They've done nothing. This happened this last year on ag overtime. It's happened on a number of issues. Where right at the close of session, they drop a bill. They call it a gut and an amend bill, and it'll get voted. They'll put the bill forward at 11 o'clock at night. It gets voted on at 1 o'clock in the morning. That's that same day, 2 hours later, and it becomes law. And what this does, it says, wait a minute, if you want to put a bill forward, you have to publish it for 72 hours before you vote on it. And quite frankly, this is a no-brainer. This is a big yes, because these politicians need to be held accountable in terms of what legislation they're putting forward, and we think this is has a valid argument here.
Wow, I want to take a pause here and say that you can call in and ask Tal any question about any of these initiatives here. There's 17 propositions, of course, on the ballot, and we have an open phone line at 436-MeTV, option 11. We do have a phone call here. All righty. Caller, go ahead. You're live on the air with Tal Cloud of the Lincoln Club.
Yeah, Tal, you're a genius, smart guy. I was just curious, if you signed up for city council and somehow are on the ballot, but yet Antonio Geistam is, but he doesn't qualify, how does this work, and who do you file with, or who do you call?
Oh, if you have a problem with a candidate that's on the ballot and there's some issues with, say, with their background or whatever it may be, you need to talk to the city clerk, the Fresno city clerk, and file a complaint with. I think it's the city clerk is who that would be on a city election. On a county election, it would be with Brandy Orth at the county office of elections. But for any city-related issues, the Fresno city clerk.
Okay. Thank you, caller.
Thank
I appreciate it. Let's go to one more proposition, and then we certainly will go to a break here. Let's put up Prop 55. It's the tax extension. Extends by 12 years the temporary personal income tax increases enacted in 2012 on earnings over $250,000 with revenues allocated to through 12 schools, California community colleges, and in certain years, healthcare. See, this goes back, this sounds like a bond to me. It goes back to the schools, and I don't know what impact it'll have on, does this have anything to do with healthcare?
Well, once again, this is another California making it very unfriendly for anybody that tries to make a living.
What's this all about?
This is just another, it's just politicians wanting a slush fund to spend a lot of money on. This extends the tax increases that Governor Brown promised would be temporary back in the recession.
Okay.
But what it does, I mean, people say it's taxing the rich, but what it does, it taxes small business, it taxes a number of people, and it takes money out of our economy, gives it to the government to do whatever they want to do, and it takes money out of private enterprise, and we're a big no on this. This is just, it's the problem with California. Our tax rates are over 50% for the highest wage earners. And that's just wrong.
This
So-
affects people with making more than $250,000 a year.
Correct. And unfortunately, there's a lot of small businesses that make over $250,000 a year that they could use that money to invest in their communities and invest in their businesses, not in investing in Jerry Brown and the Sacramento politicians. So we're a big no.
And you know, the enticing words here are you know, when they mention schools and healthcare, those are the enticing words right there. They're there to, it's an attention grabber. K through 12, community colleges, and we're talking about healthcare. So you go, oh, great. Okay, well, I don't mind paying a little more tax just to help those people out.
Yeah, but
that's an attention grabber.
It is, but it's the same scam that they use all the time. That, oh, we need this money for schools. Have our schools gotten markedly better in the last 10 years? There's still a lot of problems. Money doesn't fix the problems. Leadership does. You have great school districts doing great work like Sanger with strong leadership. And you have issues in school districts like Fresno Unified where they're having some issues with their leadership. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it really comes down to leadership in schools, not money. It's not always about the money.
All right. 436 MeTV option 11. We're back in just a moment here going through each and every proposition on the ballot for November the 8th. Back in a moment.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
A top secret location. It's the spies who love me, bringing together MeTV's top super spies to fight evil at a memorable moment's notice. They're daring.
That's right.
Brave.
Now what are we gonna do?
The best we can.
Suave.
Does that apply to me, Oscar?
Possibly.
And smart.
The old finger in the gun trick.
Maxwell Smart.
MeTV Fresno, channel 43.6 and Xfinity 187.
All right, 436 MeTV option 11. The propositions are on the ballot, 51 through 67. We'll go through all those with Tal Cloud, Lincoln Club. And let's go Proposition 56. This is the cigarette tax. It increases the cigarette tax by $2 per pack with equivalent increases on other tobacco products, electronic cigarettes containing nicotine. So people that don't smoke, Tal, they say, well, look, doesn't affect me. I don't smoke.
Yeah, I don't smoke either, but it's not my job to tax the heck out of somebody that does smoke. That's a choice. It's a free country. We already tax cigarettes. It's huge numbers. There's always a tax increase for cigarettes. And unfortunately, it just gives another slush fund. And it's another one of these things where they put something that sounds really wonderful, but it's the reality. It's just taking more money out of private people. And unfortunately, you know, some of the poorest people who do smoke are going to be paying this tax. And it's not fair. It's just not fair to tax somebody overwhelmingly like this.
If this passes, who grabs that money?
Well, again, it goes in the general fund, and then it's kind of loosely defined where the money's going to go. I mean, it's not all going to health care. You know, so much of the cigarette tax now is not going to health care. They say it's to go to health care, but they just reduce health care funding out of the general fund and then move in tax money. And so that general fund reduction gets to be spent wherever they want. It's wrong.
It's amazing. So it sounds like 56 is just another proposition to take money out of your pocket. Seems
absolutely.
like every single one of these, they want money out of your pocket. All right, let's go to 57, Prop 57. We're talking about, this one allows parole consideration for non-violent felons. Okay, this is a big one. Let's keep that 57 up there. Caller, you're on the show. Go ahead. You're live with Tal Cloud.
I just want to say that I appreciate the fact that you have somebody on there that's willing to explain these things. It seems to me every time there's one of these voting times. It's just a chance for Jerry Brown and his henchmen up there to just raise taxes on more of us here in California. We're already the most overtaxed state there is, and I appreciate this man being on here.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions about the propositions?
No, I'm going to listen. I haven't even received anything in the mail yet. I was wanting to read over them. I know there's a lot of them on there that all it is disguised bonds. They're all disguised taxes just to increase everything on what we're paying already too much of in this.
All right.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's continue with Prop 57. You see that up on the screen right here. So let me reiterate. This one allows parole consideration for nonviolent felons, authorizes sentence credits for rehabilitation, good behavior, education, and also provides juvenile court judges to decide whether or not a juvenile will be prosecuted as an adult.
Okay, once again, Lincoln Club says no, and let me tell you why. I mean, if you look at what Governor Brown did recently with letting all these criminals out of jail early, this is just doubling down on that. There's a reason why Sheriff Mims is opposed to this. Most law enforcement DAs are opposed to this. This is a way for Brown to save money, kicking people out of prisons into our neighborhood so they can rob us blind.
Felons.
Felons, yeah. I'm sorry, but, you know, these people are not going to learn unless they're kept behind bars.
So this is the one that Mims and Chief Dyer are strongly opposed to.
Right. And I think you have to, who do you trust more, Governor Brown or Sheriff Mims? I mean, that's...
Well, Mims is not trying to take money out of my pocket. I
know
know that.
and she's trying to keep you safe. And she's seen the devastating effects of Governor Brown and how he's, you know, played previous criminal stuff.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions about these propositions, 57, this one has been heavily publicized in the newspaper, on all the television news programs, certainly statewide and in some of the publications that you've seen maybe online. Proposition 57, highly touted by Governor Jerry Brown. Isn't this the proposition where Governor Jerry Brown sent a letter to Margaret Mims?
Correct.
And they got into it.
They got into it about this because he doesn't want any sunshine on some of these propositions, and this is certainly one. When you talk to the everyday police on the street, they don't want this either.
Yeah, I can see why. All right, Proposition 58. Let's go to that one quickly, and then we'll go to a break. Here it is. This one preserves the requirement that public schools, we're back to the schools again, that they ensure students obtain English language proficiency. This one requires school districts to solicit parent community input in developing language acquisition programs.
Well, okay, what that means is they want your kid to learn Spanish, okay? And
that is convoluted, what I just read.
Very convoluted, but this is why Lincoln Club's opposed to it. What they say is they want your kids are going to have to learn Spanish, dual immersion classes in.
But my kids are learning Spanish now.
By your choice, and that's what we support. What we support is Lincoln Club. Let the school districts pick. If they want to have dual immersion classes, Sanger Unified started one up in the little rural school of Centerville. It's a dual immersion school. It's going gangbusters because a lot of people want to learn both languages. If I had a chance, I wish I would have.
You're saying that this is force feeding us. They're forcing us to learn Spanish.
Right.
It should be optional.
It should be up to the local school districts and the leadership locally, not Governor Brown saying your kid's going to learn Spanish. Or maybe it's going to be Hmong, or maybe it's going to be Punjabi. Maybe it's going to be, Muslim languages. That's not right. It should be local control, and this is the government saying, we want you to learn Spanish. And you're going to have a dual immersion program in every school.
Yeah. What do you think about that, callers? Proposition 58, should we be forced to learn Spanish? Our children, that is. 436-MeTV, option 11. If you have any comments or questions or any negative or positive thoughts about some of these propositions, what do you think? I mean, my kids are already learning Spanish in school, but I guess that's voluntary. But this is a forced issue. They're trying to shove it down your throat. This is what you're going to do. And, are we, here's the other thing I got, Tal. I mean, isn't the main language in this country, in this state, English? Why should anybody be forced to learn a foreign language?
I agree. I wish I would have, but that was my choice, my parents' choice.
Right.
And the reality is I could do a lot better in English, as we all could. And I think students need to learn English first. And if we have opportunities to learn other languages, more power to you. My daughter does Spanish as well, loves it.
Yeah.
But it's my choice and her choice.
Yeah, and my kids speak Spanish, and I don't. So, they learned it in school, and they're getting very proficient at speaking Spanish. So it's good to be bilingual. It helps you in the job
Absolutely.
market when you graduate.
I wish I was.
All right, 436 MeTV, option 11. We're back with the program in just a moment. Hey, there's an open line. Call in.
Giddy up with westerns, we've got the best ones. Superhero, sci-fi, spin, grab the popcorn and stay in. Dramas, mystery, and action, take a look and see what happens. Carol, Andy, Lucy, MASH, timeless comedies full of laughs. Hey, that's me!
That's me. That's me, Chief.
Yeah, me.
Me, you gotta see, that's memorable, that's me. Me TV.
When you're looking for Whirlpool innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified Whirlpool appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Oh man, I knew Proposition 58 would fire up some of the callers out there. We got one waiting to talk about Proposition 58, which essentially, Tal, I guess, forces students across the state of California to learn Spanish. Caller, you're on the air with Tal Cloud. Go ahead.
Yes. When I was going through K to 12, like you were stating, this is back between night, So anyway, in order to become a citizen, naturalized citizen of the United States, you were supposed to have a working knowledge of English and be able to recite the
Constitution
or the preamble to the Constitution and all this stuff, all these requirements. Now, you're asking us all to learn another language. But isn't this defeating the whole purpose of immigration and naturalization? You have to learn. They have to be able to function in our society, and they cannot do that if you're only going to speak their language. They have to have some kind, like it says, a working knowledge of the English language and being able to recite our constitutions and then preambles and this kind of stuff. What are we doing here? Why are we forcing our children to learn the language so that they're not supposed to learn? I'm not saying in English language only. I'm just saying, don't force me.
Okay.
If you're not going to enforce the rules about naturalization, then don't force me to say learn the Spanish.
All right.
All right, thank you. And I think the caller's right. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, there's a lot of folks that feel we can do a lot better in our English language learning, and we need to bring these kids in. We need to bring them in, and everybody should be speaking our language first. When they master that, give them the opportunities to do other languages.
All right, let's go to Prop 59, and this one deals with, well, you can ask the California elected officials should use their authority to propose and ratify an amendment to the federal Constitution, overturning the U.S. Supreme Court decision in Citizens United versus the Federal Elections Commission. Again, convoluted language. What the heck are they talking about?
What they're talking about here and why Lincoln Club is opposed, Fresno County Lincoln Club, if you need to get our ballot program, take a look at that, download our positions. But let me just tell you in a nutshell, what this is the Democrats in Sacramento and the leadership in Sacramento saying, hey, we don't want anybody to disagree with us. No matter how much money we have, we don't want anybody to fight us. Citizens United made it fair that businesses, non-labor unions, others could raise money to fight public issues, like many that have happened in the past, and ballot measures. It's a way that makes the playing field level. This does not make the playing field level.
So they don't want to be challenged in court.
Right. What they don't want to do is they want to threaten people that donate money. Many times people donate money and they don't want their name associated with what they're donating. I mean, I'm actually opposing the Measure X right now in Fresno Unified through my common sense information. I have a group that people can donate money to me as long as I don't say I'm opposed to Measure X, but I talk about some of the problems in Fresno Unified, which I'm doing. It's perfectly legal. What this would do is would stop all that money, but it's a way to get information out to the public. It's public information that they should have. And the Democrats don't want any opposition to any programs they have. I've used this also to educate on UFW and what's going on with UFW and their corrupt UFW labor union.
All right, 436-MeTV, option 11. We do have an open phone line if you want to call in and weigh in. This next one, you people out there might laugh, Proposition 60. This has to do with the adult film industry, of course, mainly taking place in Southern California. This requires the adult film performers to use condoms during filming of sexual intercourse. It requires producers to pay for the performers, vaccinations, testing, and medical examinations at all times. So are we, the taxpayer, having to pay for this? Is money coming out of my pocket for these condoms?
No, they're not. But when you and I were filming our movie last weekend with all those beautiful women in Southern California, there was hundreds of them. I mean, that would have taken away from our ability to be professionals.
Someone might actually take you serious.
Well, if they do, they got problems. Because look at me and John, and I guarantee you no one's taking us serious.
No.
But the reality is, what's so funny about this, and when this came up for Lincoln Club, we all laughed. We all got a good giggle out of it. What in the world is the state of California dealing with condoms? That is between two consenting adults. They need to be over 18. If they want to risk their lives without using a condom, more power to them.
Are they trying to stop the spreading of STDs? I don't know.
I think what people are trying to feel good once again in California. Let's legislate my values onto you. And quite frankly, I want out of your bedroom. If you want to make a movie, and I know you make hundreds of them, I don't want to be involved. And I don't think anybody should be involved.
But who's paying for the condoms? Who's paying for the vaccinations? Who's paying, if you want to get tested for AIDS, it costs money. Who's paying for that?
The producers of the films.
Okay. It won't be the taxpayer.
No.
We're not donating any kind of, okay.
No,
all right.
The producers of the films are paying for it now. It's a very regulated industry, believe it or not. I actually sell paper to customers in that industry for backing of magazines. And one time, as a funny story, I had to go down to Los Angeles, deliver some paper to a customer. My customer tricked me. I went into this warehouse. It was the biggest warehouse I've ever seen. It all was on the wall was porno magazines and videos and DVDs.
That's where your paper was going.
It was going. And I laughed. And he said, I thought you'd find that funny, but it's a business. It's a real business, but we should stay out of it. I don't need to be in there.
Oh, man.
Except when you and I film our next movie next weekend.
Oh, come on, knock it off. All right, 436-MeTV, option 11. So, you got to call in and weigh in on this one if you want to. Let's go to Proposition 61 there, as you saw just a moment ago. There it is right there. This has to do with the prescription drug companies. Prohibits the state from buying any prescription drug from a drug manufacturer at price over the lowest price paid for the drug by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. Okay, I think I understand this one, but clarify it for me.
Okay, this is again the state getting in the middle of private industry, determining who's going to buy.
How are they getting in the middle?
Well, because they're gonna prohibit where the state can buy drugs from, as an example.
They're trying to stop the state of California where to buy drugs.
They're giving us less options to choose.
Okay.
Last I checked, when I go out to lunch, I don't want to go to McDonald's. I may want to spend more money and go to Burger King or In-N-Out Burger.
Okay.
I think there's times where to handcuff people to buy the cheapest product in the marketplace from certain suppliers is wrong.
So so this is about handcuffing people and forcing people to buy the cheapest product on the market.
Right, and that may not be the best product. And also, it's again, does anybody trust the legislature to get involved in medical policy? Look what's happened with Obamacare.
No.
It's bad. Let's stay out of it. Lincoln Club's a big no.
So you're talking about freedom of choice here, basically.
Freedom of choice for your drugs, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what we should have. All right, Proposition 62, if you will. This one has to do with the death penalty. It repeals the death penalty. It replaces it with life in prison without the possibility of parole. There's the electric chair right there that has obviously been put to use here in California and other states around the union. So what do you think about this?
Well, Lincoln Club looked at this and we are no. We had some people say, why are you a no on this? Because, and actually some big names responded back and said you should have been yes, because they think maybe this will keep people in jail, but it won't. The problem with the death penalty is it's not being utilized. And until you have politicians in California...
when was the last one? In 2007?
It's
8, 9?
Maybe. And nationwide, they've had issues with the drugs, that they don't have the right drugs to put people to death.
Yeah, because they don't die right away.
Right,
they
and
suffer.
there's some issues there. That needs to be resolved. But the other issues that need to be resolved is moving people through the system, not allowing so many appeals after appeals after appeal. Our problem is the death penalty works when used. It's not being used. So there's a problem. Fix the death penalty process. Don't eliminate it.
All right, before we move on to the next one, I want to ask you a question. Let me just propose a question. All right, Charles Manson, well known. Should he have life in prison, or should he be put to death?
He should have been put to death.
He should have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Based on
the crimes that he committed, the crimes that he and his followers put forward.
Is this very similar to? And we have other propositions we have to get to, but I want to get to the core of this issue, and I just thought it just popped into my head. Is this an issue much like the abortion issue? You're either for it or against it. Some people are for abortion, some people are against, some people are against the death penalty and say no, put them to death. Is it one that will never go away as a controversial issue?
Oh, I think absolutely. I think this is a big social issue, much like abortion. You're 100% correct. But the problem with this one is, let's fix the process, not eliminate the death penalty.
Okay. Prop 63, this has to do with firearms and ammunition sales. It requires the background check and Department of Justice authorization to purchase ammunition. It prohibits the possession of large capacity ammunition magazines. Not sure what the size of those magazines would be. I don't know, what, 20 bullets, 30? I don't know. Establishes procedures for enforcing laws prohibiting firearm possession by specified people. And it also requires the Department of Justice, their participation in a federal national instant criminal background check.
I'm sorry, you've already been approved to buy a gun with a national background check, a federal background check. You already have the gun legally. Now they want to stop you from buying bullets? I mean, again...
So this is not about the gun, it's about the bullets.
The bullets. This is going to be stopping buying the bullets, and it's wrong. Once again, it's California trying to legislate everything.
The most you can have right now is, I think, 10 bullets in a mag, right?
Right, but I mean, some people for sports or other things, they want more. I mean, you know, if a criminal's going to get a gun, whether this passes or not, and this is for law-abiding citizens that want to use it for sport or for target or for whatever they want to do, let's say no. You know, it's just wrong. I'm no.
Some people feel that, though, Tal, that the average citizen like you and me should be limited to the size of the magazine. I know we got to take a break here. Only law enforcement should have those large magazines because they're here to protect us. You agree with that?
I don't, because the law-abiding citizens like you and I are not going to use it against law enforcement. Criminals are going to make it happen no matter what. So this is not going to stop criminals.
Okay, so that one about the ammunition, it's not about the gun. Should they be forced to cut back on ammunition? 436 MeTV, option 11. We're back with our program. We have an open line, limited time left here. Back in a moment.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the KitchenAid appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Save big with KitchenAid. Right now, get up to a $1,000 prepaid MasterCard when you purchase select KitchenAid appliances. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
The Ballad of Andy and Barney. Andy and Barney were lawmen, bravest you ever did see. Warned every crook in the record book to stay out of Mayberry. They were the law.
Yes, they were the law, and they didn't know fear.
The Andy Griffith Show.
I guess to sum it up, you could say there's 3 reasons why there's so little crime in Mayberry. There's Andy, and there's me, and baby makes 3.
Now on MeTV Fresno.
If you read the verbiage in some of these propositions, it really is convoluted and very confusing as to what they're asking and what they want you to vote for or against. So let's go to Prop 64. Tal Cloud is here to try to help us clear some of this up. This is the medical marijuana issue. Actually, it's to legalize marijuana for recreational use here in California. And I'm looking to see if there's another proposition. No, this looks like the only one that's on here for marijuana use across the state.
Well, Lincoln Club is no. Part of the reason we're no is that the banking laws are very difficult to marijuana, so it's going to be an all-cash business. Everybody talks about the taxes that this marijuana will bring, but unfortunately, without legal banking laws, how do you pay the tax? We wish the federal government would make their decision. Is it a Class 2 narcotic, which they've continually said it is? So you can't bank it. A lot of people are. This is one that is, people are going to make their own decision. Lincoln Club felt it was no, just because there's going to be problems with DUI, marijuana in the workplace. How do you deal with that? A lot of those things are there.
And not only that, I think most conservatives, I'm going out on a limb here, will vote no on this, and a lot of the liberals will vote, yeah, let's legalize it.
And I think right now it's showing it's going to pass. There hasn't been a big concerted effort against it like there was a decade or two ago. But unfortunately, as you're finding in Colorado, we're finding in Washington, it's not going to be all peaches and cream when this passes. There's a lot of problems with it, and how they're going to tax it's going to be the biggest issue.
All right, I'm curious here because as I was looking at some of these last night, as I was watching the Dodgers win, by the way, interesting. So, are there two initiatives on the ballot that are dealing with plastic bags?
There's two.
All right, let's go with 65. That's one of them, right?
Right.
Prop 65.
Right. It's interesting. There's 65 and 67, and they were written kind of to almost against each other as a way to challenge.
What does this one do though? 65. If you vote yes or no on this one.
65. I think is the one.
It redirects money. Well, I'll just read it real quick. It says redirects money collected by grocery and certain other retail stores through mandated sale and carry-out bags. It also requires stores to deposit bag sale proceeds into a special fund to support specified environmental projects. Specified environmental like what projects?
Like whatever project they want. And that's okay, so 65 sounds great. Oh, we're going to take money, we're going to put it to save the whales or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But why is the state doing that? Why are we starting another bureaucracy with state money? We already have, when you buy a soda, you have your tax there. We already have all those kind of taxes. Why are we starting a whole new fund? Now, if it passes at a greater percentage than 67, then it's going to take priority over 67.
All right. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air with Tau Cloud. What is your question today?
Hi. I was reading through my general election
Gotta
pamphlet,
crank it up.
voter information guide for the Prop 58.
Yeah.
And it does not say it has to be Spanish that it's taught. It could even be Native American. And I'm trying to figure out why you think that it would not be up to parents to choose which is possible. I don't see that it's being forced on anybody. Also, my grandmother taught me Spanish, and she was Danish 100%. She taught me Spanish before I even went to school.
Okay. All right.
I'm not afraid to open my mind. And it actually makes a big deal of difference if you can speak another language as far as your mental capability. It just, it's like music.
All right.
When you expand your mind, you actually become able to be a smarter person. All right.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I mean, I think we talked about that. It isn't specific to Spanish, but that's where it's going to go. And
all right.
Again, let's.
Okay, so we talked about Prop 65. Let's go to Prop 66 and another death penalty issue. You got to be kidding me. Okay, this one deals with changes, procedures governing state court challenges to death sentences. And it also designates Superior Court for initial petitions and limits successive petitions. I'm not quite sure I understand that, to be honest with you. I don't know what 66 is about. Is this for or against the death penalty? And what does that have to do with the other death penalty issue, 62?
Okay, the 62 and 65 are kind of like 60.
No, 62 and 66.
Yes. Again, what it's doing is it's trying to make death penalty much more difficult to happen, and putting people down on life with parole, without parole and things like that, or actually giving people opportunities for parole. We need to fix the process of the death penalty, not eliminate it. These two are going to cause problems there.
Okay. Prop 67, the last one, it's the ban on single-use plastic bags. A yes vote approves and a no vote rejects a statute that prohibits grocery and other stores from providing you, the customer, with single-use plastic or paper carry-out bags, but permits the sale of recycled paper bags and reusable bags. Okay, so
this is really clearly the paper bag initiative. This is the one that many cities, Lincoln Club's opposed to this, but what Lincoln Club has said is if Berkeley wants to have a paper bag only, Berkeley should have the right to do that.
And I think they may have. The Bay Area is banned.
They do. Yeah, absolutely. San Francisco does.
Yeah.
But if Berkeley wants that, that's fine. If Fresno wants it, we should be able to vote on it. But why is the state coming in and saying only, no one can have a plastic bag, or you have to buy a carry-out bag? What we think it should be is local jurisdictions.
All right, we got 4 minutes left. Let's go to the Central Unified School District, the school bond. It's Measure C. There it is right there. And
well, Measure C is kind
of... That's the wrong one. It should be the Central Unified School District. That's County of Fresno. Central Unified School District. Let's put up that one first.
Well, if we don't have it, since we're tight on time, I'll
Nope,
explain
that's
it.
County of Fresno. We're searching for it, and will we find it here? I'm not sure. We do have it. Okay, that's Central Unified School District right there. We'll get to the other two that we put up prematurely. That's the Central Unified School District to continue renovating, constructing, and equipping existing classroom school facilities and building a new high school at Central Unified, and also building a new elementary school at a cost, well, I don't know, taxpayer money?
It's taxpayer money, but here's the problem with Central Unified. They're double taxing. They're removing one of the bonds from last time and adding and doubling up on this bond. This taxes are you're going to pay double the price for the same thing that the last bond promised. All these things are not promising anything new. Lincoln Clubs know on this because they're not being truthful with the voters, much like Measure X that Fresno Unified were opposed to, because the Fresno Unified bond were opposed because they're not telling us where the money's going to be spent. But in Central Unified, they're acting as if it's new money, but the reality is they're finishing the last bond but doubling your taxes.
All right, let's go to Measure T, the County of Fresno. Measure T. Is that Measure T? I think it is.
There's U.
That's
and
T.
Yes. And
That's T. That's T. Shall the Section 21 of Fresno County chapter be amended to provide that the Chief Probation Officer shall be appointed and serve at the pleasure of the County Administration Officer?
And we're a big yes on that. And the reason is, right now, the way it reads is they're appointed by the state. Why do we have the state appoint our probation officer? And that's why you've seen the problems on the courts where the court removed the probation officer. We didn't know why. We're a big yes on this. Get it out of the state's control, put it local.
Let's go to Measure U, Fresno County. Measure U.
Measure U, once again, we're a big yes because, again, it puts local control and allows the DA to oversee.
Yeah, what does this deal with?
This deals with the person that the public administrator, and allows oversight by the district attorney.
To be elected, not appointed.
It's going to be appointed by the Board of Supervisors, but can be overseen by the district attorney.
Okay, quickly, caller, we got about a minute left. Go ahead. What's your quick question for Tal?
Hi.
Quick.
Plastic bags. Let the grocery stores give better credit, and people will bring their own bags back, and it will eliminate a lot of the problem. Some grocery stores already do give a nickel or 6 cents credit per bag that you bring to use.
Okay, absolutely, and that once again, that's what we should be doing. Let the market decide.
Yeah. Okay. And we have just about a minute left here. I'm not sure how much time. The mayor's race, Perea and Brand. It is tight. It was at one point Perea's race to lose, and maybe he will lose it, but it is really tightened up now.
Lincoln Club supports Lee Brand 100%, but let me tell you, it's going to be turnout. Who shows up is who's going to determine this. If Hillary voters show up, then I think Henry has a chance. But at this point, I'm not sure she's going to have voters showing up. And I
Who do you give the edge to right now?
I think right now, the polling I've seen that we've been involved in, I think Lee Brand has the edge.
Because
there's going to be his voters are more excited about showing up, and north of Shaw's, he's going to do well.
How much time, Kerry? We got 30 seconds left. Unfortunately, we can't take another call. But Tal, good to see you. I enjoyed going through all those propositions. I understand it a little better now. I was making some notes as you were talking, as a matter of fact, in my head. So I appreciate your time.
Great to be here, and hopefully go to Fresno County Lincoln Club, look up our ballot reasons. Everything's spelled out for you.
What's the website?
FresnoCountyLincolnClub.org.
You got it.
And ballot PDFs right there to print out. Take it to the polls with you.
All right. Thank you, Tal. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All righty. See you back here on Monday with Kathy Isom of radio fame. Remember her father, Roy Isom. Boy, KMJ fame for a long time. Have a great weekend, everybody.
If you have a need to promote your business or event, please consider MeTV Fresno for your next campaign. MeTV reaches over 100,000 of your potential customers in the Fresno area every single week. Plus, you can rest assured that your commercial is running in the greatest family-friendly programs of all time. MeTV Fresno delivers a strong, loyal audience ready to buy, and your campaign will cost a fraction of what you're paying for your advertising now. Call me today to find out how affordable MeTV is at 905-1925.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Samsung big screen we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start, but you really should touch the merchandise before you buy.
Time for that upgrade to an HD 3D web-enabled Samsung TV.
Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to